Hey, you guys, welcome to Addictive Personalities. My name is Bethany, and this podcast is based on lived experience, not professional advice. We're going to talk about addiction in all forms, mental health, trauma, healing, and everything in between. This is a space for honest conversation without judgment. So, wherever you are in your journey, I'm really glad you're here. Hey, guys, welcome back. So, today's affirmation is I am open-minded and I can adapt. And the reason why that affirmation is so important for this episode is because I have taken a really strong stance before, even as late as last year, when this podcast was still in its ideation phase. I was very much on a path of breaking all the rules of recovery, one episode at a time. That was literally my tagline. But through this process, and because I think about this almost every day, I've opened my mind a lot. I get excited to record these episodes, and I've had to challenge my own beliefs. At one point, I believed the program was a lie. I'm just going to say it because it's honest. And that might piss some of you off. I know that it is a strong stance. But I'm also going to tell you that's actually not how I feel today. I still have really strong beliefs in this episode and in subsequent episodes. I'm going to call them hot takes that will probably upset some of you if you're fixed in a certain opinion. And that's fair. That's your prerogative. You are free to believe what you want, what makes sense to you. So this is going to be a hot take episode, but it's also about how I've learned to adapt. And I think it's really important to leave yourself open to change your mind or think things through or change your opinion. I think it's a characteristic that helps. I mean, in our past, we've had to adapt quite frequently, right? So let's not go to the other extreme. Let's continue to be fluid and open. So the reason why I think it's important to drop this episode now is because I think all of the previous episodes kind of touched on really important topics at a very high level. Haven't really gotten through the weeds, and so now I just kind of want to wrap it all up with, okay, here's what I think. So hot take number 1. AA, NA, SA, CA, any A is not necessarily the best option. That used to be a huge stance of mine, and while I still believe that that can be true, I have softened a bit on that. So now I think that if it's approached in a way that it was intended, it actually has a lot of promise, and I know that it has helped a lot of people. But a lot of us have been forced into meetings, forced into CPS cases, into criminal cases, court requirements, rehabs, family interventions. You know, we promise we'll go to meetings to prove we're taking things seriously, but are we? Are we really? Because a lot of people, including myself at one point, use meetings as a reaction to a trigger, like, shit, I'm about to use. I need to go to a meeting. And that's not bad. I mean, whatever keeps you sober and coming back, you know, the saying is, it works if you work it. That is the truest statement. I think it does work if you do work it. But working it means doing the program, getting a sponsor, etc., etc. But here's where it gets dangerous, in my opinion. If you're using meetings just as a quick fix and you're not actually doing the work, then you're not doing the program. We've all been there. We've all had to come in with our sign-in sheet or for court, you know, that document that we need to have signed by the meeting leader. And it's in a pile on a desk. And we're just waiting for that moment that we can just get it signed and get out of there. And I'm sure there's some of us, I know I've done it, that have signed each other's papers at one point. You know, because we really just did it because we had to, not because we wanted to. But when you're doing the program, it's intended to be a 12-step process. You go, you surrender, you accept that you have a problem, you believe in a higher power or a power bigger than you relinquish that control, you get to share your story, you get a sponsor, you work the steps. And the steps are supposed to get you through a spiritual transformation, and eventually you end up giving back. And it's this cycle, it's this full circle, right? And so some people stay because they're giving back. The steps are supposed to get you through the hardest parts of yourself. And so that's, I think most people don't make it past the 4th step. And that makes sense because that's actually the hardest one. That's the accountability step. That's the moral inventory. That's where you have to face your part in your own life, right? It's where you write out your life story honestly, and you look at it and say, I did this, right? You take responsibility for the people you hurt, the choices you made, and the life that you created, but you have to list it all out, even the most uncomfortable things. It's basically like a confession, but it's also an objective, or like you're writing out the timeline. And honestly, when I did my 4th step, I realized so much. Now, I didn't come back after that. I didn't go to my 5th step. But that's common. It's not unique. It's the hardest step. Everybody dreads that step. So, because it can be brutal and it's hard. Most people, whether they're addicts or not, cannot face themselves and do a real life review. They protect themselves from the concept of having hurt other people because it doesn't feel nice, right? It doesn't feel good. So whatever stories people make up in their head, that's easier than taking responsibility. So instead, people stay in this loop of going to meetings but never actually doing the program. And here's the thing. I actually think the 12 steps are good for anyone to do, even outside of addiction. It's a path towards self-awareness, accountability, and growth. But my real concern is when people replace their addiction with AA or NA or any other A, and it starts to feel more like a different dependency or even a cult in some cases. I've had arguments about this, particularly with my aunt. She's very heavily involved in that world. And people say all the time, look at how many millions it's helped. Okay, but if I'm playing devil's advocate and using the same logic, it's probably not helped millions more, because a lot of people go and don't get what they need. And part of that is because there is no real healing happening alongside the meetings. A lot of people are just trying to survive day by day. And also, I do want to point out, honestly, a sponsor is not a professional. They are also a recovering addict. They also have shortcomings, right? They are humans and imperfect. I'm not saying therapy or a professional person is perfect either. There's really bad mental health professionals, right? But the program is a support system. So And yes, I'm not debating its efficacy when you do it because you want to be clean. That is the biggest piece of this. When you want to be clean, everything else changes. Okay? Like, I can't speak to wanting to be clean and still being triggered. I don't know what that's like right now, today. But I'm not saying I haven't been through that. It's just, it's so much harder for me to relate to that because a lot of my past has been replaced with now a new future. It's even harder for me to really remember intense situations or memories now because I have filled my brain with new good memories. Because I used to live as a slave to my past. I really did. I really, really did. And I'm grateful that I don't today and that I've been able to fill my head with a different perspective and a point towards the future. So I'm not saying that everyone who's clean right now doesn't get triggered. And that can be, I'm sure, very frustrating because it's something that maybe you can't control, right? So going through the program might help you with that. Getting a sponsor might help you with that. And for a lot of people, when they hit the 4th step and actually have to face themselves, they typically relapse. Because it's hard to look in the mirror and say, oh, shit, I'm actually not a victim. I'm a perpetrator. I was selfish. I hurt people. I did this to myself. So my point is, the program is great when it's used correctly. And I see that in testimonies from people. But every meeting is going to have a mix of people who want to be there and who don't want to be there. And the program and meetings are not for everyone. It's just not for them. They don't want to go there and whine about their story. It's in their mind that they're whining about their drug addiction. And some people may be of the opinion that you're in the meetings constantly staying attached to your past. But it is also talk therapy for free, right? So there is a value in that. You can go to a meeting, talk about what you want to talk about, and you don't have a bill at the end of it. And I'm sure it's a lot more valuable than some of the therapists that I've seen. There's a lot of bad therapists out there who don't know what they're doing. So if part of your healing is talk therapy, by all means, go to a meeting. I just hope that you're not going to a meeting to just simply get through the day. That's not something I can imagine is helpful. And for the people that go there and think that they are whining about their drug addiction, or that it's really not, their crowd, or whatever it is, it could be a sign that maybe they aren't really ready, right? And again, like I said, it's not for everybody. And that's okay. There are other ways to achieve sobriety. But again, healing has to occur. So whether it's with therapy, self-work, or something deeper, or the program, or God, it has to be used correctly. You have to want it. Even rehab, you have to want it. For whatever resources the rehab gives you, those resources will not work if you do not want to be clean. It didn't work for me. I went to rehab 3 times, left every single time. And let me tell you, I looked for every excuse why I shouldn't be there. Like any excuse, anytime it got tough. You have to want it. It cannot just be a crutch to get through the day, because that, to me, would feel like purgatory. A place I would never want to live in. right? One foot out, one foot in, or doing it to project a an image that you want to be clean for your family. Like, even if you want to get clean because you know it's the right thing to do, but you really don't want to, but you know that you need to, that is still different than really wanting to be clean. Just, I mean, it's a night and day, and anybody who understands this understands what I'm talking about. Like, anybody who understands the difference, it is night and day. So I'm going to pause here because that is a lot already. And if you take anything from this first part, it's this: the program itself is not the problem. And I used to think that it was, but I don't now. And that's okay. I can change my mind. The way that it's used can be the problem. And if you're not actually doing the work, you're not giving yourself a real shot at changing your life. But it has to start with you. Nobody can force the will on you. I mean, maybe you can go through the steps doing them like a zombie, or doing them with your eyes rolling so far in the back of your head. You know, you're not taking it seriously. It's a joke to you. And maybe in one of those steps, you have an epiphany. That's great. I hope that that is the case. But oftentimes, people go to meetings because they feel forced to. They have to. In the next episode, I'm going to go even deeper into some of the more controversial stuff. We're talking about the disease model, the identity. I'm going to go a little deeper into that, the labels, relapse, and what recovery actually looks like in real life. Not the version we're told, but the version we live. If this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to keep coming back and listening. I'm going to keep sharing, learning, and figuring this out with you in real time. And wherever you are in your journey, you're not alone. There's more to come, and we're just getting into it. This is Addictive Personalities.